Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prachachana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prachachana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prachachana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prachachana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prachachana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prachachana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Gopal Govindaram Srimadhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mahan Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rup Sri Sanatam Patarakuna Ichivago Palabhata Dasarakuna Hari Harai Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopal Govindaram Simadhusudan Hari Bol, 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 Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Govinda Chai Chai, Gopala Chai Chai. Radha Ramana Hare Govinda Chai Chai. Govinda Chai Chai, Gopala Chai Chai. Radha Ramana Hare Govinda Chai Chai. Govinda 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 Gopala Gopal Gopala Gopal. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jayom Shtabat Brahmam Saparaj Vicharya Sudharazat Sisi Mati Swine Grace Esi Bhakti Lantas Maharaj Sila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Sil Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prems Gosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Chamakund Radha Kund Kiri Gaurang Ki Jai Mayapur Navadiptam Ki Jai Vrindam Matrudam Ki Jai Gangamai Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtanya Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai All glory Sri Guru Karanga Praise Prabhupada. Vanamali also with you?
Yes, Vanamali is here.
Guru Maharaj.
Haribol. And Shaktya?
Yes. Hare Krishna. Shaktya and Bhakta Ivica, our neighbor.
Ah, Ivica, Hare Krishna. Okay, then we can start, huh?
Yes.
Then we are more than enough.
Yes. And we have an extra guest, Mataji Alambika from Hungarian farm. She's also here.
Ah, one more.
Yes, one more.
You have a whole temple there, huh?
Almost, yes.
So today we have a very nice verse.
Za danas imamo veoma lep stih.
One key verse, 1:19.
To je jedan od ključnih stihova, 1:19.
Verse everyone should know by heart also. Yesterday's verse, you remember?
Svakoga treba naučiti na pamet.
Who remembers yesterday's verse?
A da li se sećate stiha od juče?
Russian? You were there in the Russian?
Yesterday, not unfortunately.
Hari Bhakti Sudadaya.
Jedan stih iz Hari Bhakti Sudadaya.
Bhakti Hinasya Chati Shastras Chapastapa Apramasya Dehasya Mandanam Lokaranjanam. Huh? That's the yesterday's. Today we have another nice verse. 1:19. Spoken by the sages of Naimisharanya to Sutta Goswami.
Danas imamo prelepi stih 1:19 koji su izgovorili mudraci iz Naimisharanje, Suti Goswami.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vayam tuna vitripyama. Vayam tuna vitripyama. Uttama shloka vikrame. Uttama shloka vikrame. Yachrinvatam rasakyanam. Yachrinvatam rasakyanam. Svadu svadu pade pade. Svadu svadu pade pade. Vayam tuna vitripyama uttama shloka vikrame. Yachrinvatam rasakyanam. Svadu svadu pade pade. Vayam tuna vitripyama uttama shloka vikrame. Yachrinvatam rasakyanam. Svadu svadu pade pade. Vayam vi.
Čitamo reč po reč. Vajam znači mi.
Vitripyama means shall be addressed.
Vitripyama znači odmarat ćemo se.
Means the personality of Godhead who is glorified by transcendental prayers.
Uttama shloka znači svevišnji Gospod koji se slavi transcendentalnim molitvama.
Vikrame means adventures.
Vikrame znači pustolovine.
Shrinvatam continuous hearing.
Shrinvatam znači nastavite da slušate.
Rasa means humor.
Rasa znači humor.
Jnana means those who are conversant with.
Jnanam znači oni koji su upućeni u.
Svadu means relishing.
Svadu znači iskušavajući.
The palatable, that means this tasty nectar. Pade at every step.
Pade na svakom koraku.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And never tire of hearing the transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead, who is glorified by hymns and prayers. Those who have developed a taste for transcendental relationships with Him relish hearing of His pastimes at every moment.
Prevod. Nikako da se zasitimo slušanja o transcendentalnim zabavama Gospoda, božanske ličnosti koji se slavi himnama i molitvama. Oni koji su razvili ukus za transcendentalne odnose s njim, uvek slušaju o njegovim zabavama i u tome uživaju.
Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. There is a great difference between mundane stories, fiction or history, and the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. The histories of the whole universe contain references to the pastimes of the incarnations of the Lord, like the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and the Puranas are histories of bygone ages recorded in connection with the pastimes of the incarnations of the Lord, and therefore remain fresh even after repeated readings. For example, anyone may read Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam repeatedly throughout his whole life and yet find in them new light of information. Mundane news is static, whereas transcendental news is dynamic. Inasmuch as the spirit is dynamic and matter is static, those who have developed a taste for understanding the transcendental subject matter are never tired of hearing such narrations. One is quickly satiated by mundane activities, but one is satiated by transcendental, but no one is satiated by transcendental or devotional activities. Uttama Shloka indicates that literature which is not meant for nescience or darkness. Mundane literature is in the mode of darkness or ignorance, whereas transcendental literature is quite different. Transcendental literature is above the mode of darkness, and its light becomes more luminous with a progressive reading and realization of the transcendental subject matter. The so-called liberated persons are never satisfied by the repetition of the words Aham Brahmasmi. Such artificial realization of Brahman becomes hackneyed, and so to relish real pleasure, they turn to the narrations of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Those who are not so fortunate turn to altruism and worldly philanthropy. This means the Mayavad philosophy is mundane, whereas the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental.
Smisao njegove božanske milosti Šila Prabhupada. Postoji ogromna razlika između svetovnih historijskih priča i romana s jedne strane i gospodovih transcendentalnih zabava s druge. Knjige koje pripovedaju o istoriji čitavog kosmosa opisuju također i zabave gospodovih inkarnacija. Ramajana, Mahabharata i Purane su istorijski opisi prošlih vremena. U njima su opisane zabave gospodovih inkarnacija i zato su one uvek zanimljive, čak i pošto se mnogo puta pročitaju. Čovjek, na primjer, može čitavog života da čita Bhagavad Gitu ili Srimad Bhagavatam i uvek u njima da nalazi svetlo novih podataka. Budući da je materija statična, a duh dinamičan, svetovne novosti su statične, dok su transcendentalne dinamične. Onima koji su razvili ukus za razumevanje transcendentalnih tema, nikada nije dosta slušanja takvih priča. Svetovne delatnosti čoveku brzo dosade, ali se transcendentalnih delatnosti predanog služenja niko nikada ne može zasititi. Reč Utama Šloka ukazuje na književnost koja je oslobođena neznanja. Svetovna književnost je u guni tame, neznanja, dok je transcendentalna književnost sušta suprotnost svetovne. Ona je iznad gune tame. Što je više čovjek čita i spoznaje njenu transcendentalnu sadržinu, ona postaje sjajnija i sjajnija. Takozvane oslobođene osobe nikada nisu zadovoljne time što ponavljaju Aham Brahmasmi. Takva veštačka spoznaja Brahmana postaje im dosadna, te se okreću pričama Srimad Bhagavatama, ne bili iskusili pravo zadovoljstvo. Oni koji nisu toliko srećni ipak, okreću se altruizmu i svetovnoj filantropiji. To znači da je filozofija Majavade svetovna, dok je filozofija Bhagavad Gita i Srimad Bhagavatama transcendentalna.
Your Hungarian guest understands English?
Da li naš gost iz Mađarske razume engleski?
She understands English?
Yes.
Yes.
Or Serbski?
Serbish also. Serbian also.
Okay. Serbski. English, huh? Okay.
Yes, she understands both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So you can check.
Yes.
Vayam tu navi tripyama uttama shloka vikrame yashrinvatam rasagyanam svadu svadu pade pade. Mahananda, du hörst gut zu? Alles klar für dich?
Ja, vielen Dank. Ich höre sehr gut.
Okay, Englisch auch gut.
Ja, sehr gut. Verstehe ich.
Okay, tipptopp. Hey.
I can good understand.
Was man nicht alles lernt im Krishna-Bewusstsein. Ne? Selbst die Sprache. I also learned English only from reading and hearing from Prabhupada's books and from devotees and from Prabhupada.
Da. Kaže Guru Maharaj da je naučio engleski tako što je čitao Šila Prabhupadove knjige, tako što je slušao lekcije na engleskom i od Šila Prabhupada i tako je naučio engleski.
Mostly by reading Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Najviše tako što je čitao Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Because it's written in simple language and the words are always repeated again and again. So it's with the time you can learn nicely.
Jer tamo ima reč po reči i većina reči se ponavlja, tako da onda pažljivo čitajući vremenom mogao sam da naučim.
When I read a newspaper nowadays or some business paper, I don't understand one word.
A danas kada čitam neke novine ili neku poslovnu literaturu, ne razumem ni jednu jedinu reč.
It's for me completely another world. You know, it's so much technical, so complicated how they express their English words. I don't understand any phrase of them.
I to je toliko na neki tehnički način pisano, tako nekim uvrnutim jezikom da ne razumem ni jednu jedinu reč.
That shows, you know, the beauty of transcendental literature.
I to pokazuje lepotu transcendentalne literature.
It's really nectar, amrit.
Ona je pravi nektar, zaista, amrita.
It's of course for those who are after money and after politics, they like to read the newspaper and scientific paper every day.
Naravno, oni koji su zainteresovani za poslovne teme, oni vole da čitaju o poslovima, o nauci i tako neke slične teme.
For them, this topic is nectar.
I za njih takve teme su nektar.
So the nectar is wherever we have our mind.
Nektar je tamo gde god je naš um.
Or wherever we have our heart.
Ili gde god je naše srce.
Mayavadi literatures is nectarian, seems to be nectarian for the Mayavadis, for those who are impersonalists.
Mayavadi literatura je nektar za one koji su Mayavadi, impersonalisti.
But if you try to read such kind of books for a devotee, it's completely tasteless.
Ali ako bakte probaju da čitaju takve knjige, za njih su potpuno bezukusne.
You think, what they are actually speaking about here?
I onda se pitate, o čemu zapravo ovi ovdje pričaju?
Because nothing has a name, but still they use name, but ultimately has no name, or they speak about a God or an entity, and ultimately it's not an entity. You think, oh, they must be crazy.
I onda oni tamo pričaju o nekom vrhovnom biću koje zapravo nije biće i onda kažu pa možda ipak jeste biće, ma ne, ipak nije i to je nešto potpuno ludo.
And then they speak about a universal love or so even devotion, but to what? But they don't describe.
I onda govore o nekoj kosmičkoj ljubavi, ali prema čemu to uopšte ne opisuju, prema čemu se usmerava ta ljubav ili prema kome?
Because there is nothing to describe.
Jer nema ničega što bi oni mogli da opišu.
Because for them ultimately the absolute truth is not a person, it's not the personality of Godhead.
Jer za takve ljude konačna apsolutna istina nije svevišnja božanska ličnost, uopšte nije ni osoba.
Such people cannot understand that God also has senses, he has intelligence, he has awareness, much more than we have.
I takve osobe ne shvataju da Bog posjeduje čula, da posjeduje svesnost i to mnogo više nego što mi posjedujemo.
Therefore, the topics about such a personality who is always full of beauty, opulences, full of adventures, that's interesting to hear.
I zbog toga opisi takve osobe koja je puna divnih osobina, koja ima puno avantura, to je veoma lepo za čuti.
In the material world, people always admire and like to read and to watch a movie where there are great heroes.
U materijalnom svetu ljudi uvek vole da gledaju filmove u kojima igraju veliki junaci.
Where there is action, where there is superpower.
Gde postoji akcija, gde postoje nadljudske moći.
So for them, this is life. If a devotee is looking, this is actually always the same and it's very boring.
I za njih je to život, dok je to za baktu nešto veoma dosadno i nešto što se uvek ponavlja.
And only agitates your senses.
I to jedino uznemirava vaša čula.
Maybe you see if you're watching such kind of movies or reading such kind of books, internally you start to shiver, you know.
I kad gledate takve filmove ili čitate takve knjige, onda iznutra počinjete onako da drhtite, da se tresete.
Your subtle body becomes agitated.
I vaše suptilno tijelo postane uznemireno.
But you don't shake out of ecstasy.
Ali ne tresete se, ne drhtite zbog zanosa.
Because ecstatic shaking is something different. It's out of great joy, of happiness. Anand.
Jer zanosno drhtanje, to je nešto drugo, to je zbog transcendentalnih osjećanja.
This is only possible in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the supreme ecstasy, Paramananda.
I to je moguće jedino u odnosu sa svevišnjom božanskom ličnošću koja se zove Paramananda.
But it's not therefore this ecstasy what the materialist experiencing, no, is not the same ecstasy or the happiness what the devotee relishes.
Tako da taj zanos koji materijalisti iskušavaju nije onaj zanos iste vrste kakav iskušavaju ili kušaju, osjećaju i bakte.
So that was the position of the sages of Naimisharanya.
I to je bio položaj mudraca u Naimisharani.
They had a lot of experience that they performed so many yagyas, expensive, huge sacrifices.
Oni su imali toliko puno iskustva, oni su radili razne plodonosne delatnosti, uradili toliko puno raznih plodonosnih žrtvovanja.
They were very experienced in meditation, to absorb in trance.
Bili su toliko iskusni u praktikovanju meditacije, ulaženju u trans.
And they were very experienced to hear about different Puranas and Vedic histories and stories.
I bili su toliko iskusni u slušanju vedskih Purana i priča.
But still, they wanted to hear more.
Ali uprkos svemu tome, oni su želeli da čuju još više.
They became more and more eager to hear about the transcendental names, fame, qualities, and pastimes of Sri Krishna and Balaram.
I oni su hteli da još više čuju o slavama, imenima, oblicima i zabavama Šri Krišne i Balarama.
That's described in verse 20.
Baš kao što je opisano u stihu broj 20.
Kritavan kila karmani, saharamena keshava, Atimartyani Bhagavan, Buddha Kapata Manushaha. Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, along with Balaram, played like human beings, and so masked or disguised, he performed many superhuman acts.
I stih 20 kaže, Gospod Šri Krišna, božanska ličnost, prerošen u običnog čoveka, izveo je zajedno sa Balaramom mnogo nadljudskih dela.
So therefore a devotee is not attracted to hear about mundane stories and love stories. It's tasteless for a devotee.
I zbog toga bakta ne želi da čuje neke svetovne priče, svetovne ljubavne priče, zato što on ima ukus za druge stvari.
They don't want to hear about mystical perfections, about siddhis or levitating.
Bakte ne želi da slušaju o mističnim savršenstvima ili levitiranju.
They don't want to hear about deep absorption or meditation in Paramatma.
Ne žele da slušaju o dubokoj uronjenosti u meditaciji na Paramatmu, na dušu.
They don't want to hear more about Vedic sacrifices.
Ne žele da slušaju o vedskim žrtvovanjima.
Because they realized anyway they don't bring us any good result or good luck.
Jer shvataju, pa takve teme nam ne donose nikakav dobar rezultat, niti dobru sreću.
Because all their bodies turn black, you know, instead of the fire, smoke came out of the fire of the yagya.
A izvinite, tako su mudraci razmišljali i na kraju šta se desilo, samo su im tela postala crna od dima koji je izašao iz te žrtvene vatre.
So the sages realized, something is not right now, it's not proper now.
I onda su mudraci shvatili, pa čekaj malo, nešto ovdje nije u redu.
So therefore they choose Sutta Goswami and and offered him the seat of Vyasadev, Vyasa-san.
I onda su izabrali Sutu Gosvamija i ponudili su mu sedište Vyasadeva, koje se zove Vyasa-san.
They considered him the most blessed person, knowledgeable person amongst them.
Smatrali su ga najblagoslovljenijom i najučenijom osobom među njima.
He was very experienced, and he was blessed by his spiritual masters.
On je bio veoma iskusan i blagoslovili su ga njegovi duhovni
And he
učitelji.
was present when Shukadev Goswami was speaking the Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit.
I bio je prisutan kad je Šukadev Gosvami izgovarao Šrimad Bhagavata Maharadžu Parikshitu.
So therefore they chose him. They considered him the most qualified.
I zbog toga su izabrali njega i svi su ga smatrali najkvalifikovanijom osobom.
And they were very eager to hear from him.
I bili su veoma željni da čuju od njega. Da slušaju.
Yesterday in Langenthal, I also addressed this point. You know, if one comes to Bhagavatam class, one should be very eager, very greedy to hear.
Tu poentu sam istakao na jučerašnjoj lekciji koju sam održao u Langenthalu u Švajcarskoj, da kada osoba dođe na lekciju Šrimad Bhagavatama, treba biti veoma željna da sluša, da čuje.
I also quoted yesterday the verse from Ramananda Roy in the Russian class.
Juče na ruskoj lekciji sam također citirao jedan stih koji je izgovorio Ramananda Raya.
So he describes the only price to pay for attaining Krishna Bhakti Ras is eagerness.
I on je rekao da jedina cena koju osoba treba platiti da bi dostigla Bhakti Rasu, to je velika, goruća želja.
This is mentioned in Madhya Lila, 8th chapter, text 70.
To je opisano u Madhya Lili 8. poglavlje, stih broj 17.
Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati Kriyatam Yadi Kutopi Labhyate Tatra Laulyam Apimulyam Ekalam Janma Koti Sukritai Na Labhyate. Pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be had even by pious activity in hundreds and thousands of lifetimes.
I taj stih kaže da svesnost Krišne ne može se dostići čak i da osoba vrši pobožne aktivnosti tokom stotina i hiljada života.
It can be attained only by paying one price.
Može biti dostignuta jedino pomoću toga ako se plati jedna cena.
That is intense greed, laulyam, to obtain it.
A to je intenzivna žudnja ili laulijam da se to dostigne.
If this is available somewhere, one must purchase it without delay.
Ako je to gde god dostupno, osoba to mora kupiti bez odlaganja.
And we should not be kripana, we should not be miser.
Ne trebamo biti kripana, ne trebamo biti škrtice.
And we should immediately pay this price of eagerness.
Trebamo odmah platiti tu cenu velikom gorućom željom.
Because it's because of eagerness to enjoy the material world. We are in this material world, and we can come out with the same eagerness directed towards Lord Krishna's pastimes and qualities and names with the same eagerness.
Jer zbog te velike goruće želje, zbog žudnje, mi smo zapravo i pali u ovaj materijalni svet, a sada možemo pomoću te iste velike goruće želje ili žudnje i razviti ukus za Krištine transcendentalne teme.
So therefore this eagerness, laulyam, is the price.
I zbog toga je ta žarka, goruća želja cena.
Like the gopis in Vrindavan, their life became perfect because of their greed and karma, love or so-called lust to meet with Krishna.
I zbog toga su gopije iz Vrindavana postale savršene, zato što su imale tu ogromnu goruću želju da se sretnu sa Krišnom.
So the perfect examples how one should be greedy to hear and to chant about Krishna's glories.
Tako da to je savršen primjer kako osoba treba biti veoma željna da sluša o Krištinim slavama.
Lord Chaitanya, he advised to follow in the footsteps of the gopis of Vrindavan is the perfection of life.
Gospodin Čaitanja je izjavio da je sleđenje stopa gopija iz Vrindavana savršenstvo života.
The Srimad Bhagavatam is the supreme proof for that.
A Šrimad Bhagavatam je vrhunski dokaz toga.
And Prema Pumata Mahan, love to Krishna, is the supreme goal of life.
A ljubav prema Krišni je vrhunski cilj života.
So one should be very eager, like the gopis they were singing. Tava katamritam, tapta jivanam, kavibiriditam, kalmashapaham, Shavanamangalam, Srimad Atadam, Bhuvigrenanti e Buridachana. The nectar of your words and the description of your activities are the life and soul of those suffering in this material world.
Gopije su to izrazile u svojoj pesmi i one kažu, dragi Krišna, teme o tebi su jedino utočište onih koji stalno ispaštaju u ovom materijalnom svijetu.
These narrations, transmitted by learned sages and devotees, eradicate one's sinful reactions.
Ti opisi koji slušaju svete bakte, oni iskorenjuju grešne reakcije iz srca.
And bestow good fortune upon whoever hears them.
I daruju dobru sreću svakome ko ih sasluša.
For the first symptoms of hearing and chanting about Krishna is that it brings good fortune to the devotees.
I zbog toga prvi simptom takvog slušanja je da to slušanje donosi dobru sreću baktama.
And diminishes misery.
I smanjuje nevolje, bede.
These narrations are broadcast all over the world and are filled with spiritual power.
Te teme se šire širom celog sveta i one u sebi sadrže ogromnu duhovnu moć.
Certainly those who spread the message of Godhead are the most munificent persons.
I zasigurno oni koji šire Gospodove slave su najvelikodušnije osobe.
So this verse was sung by the gopis and they were feeling separation of Krishna, eager to meet Krishna.
Ovaj stih su izgovorile gopije kada su osjećale veliku odvojnost od Krišne i kada su imale žarku želju da ga sretnu.
They were so overcome by eagerness in the mood of separation, but that by just reminding each other about Krishna's glories, they felt Krishna's presence.
One su toliko uronile u raspoloženje odvojenosti od Krišne da sama činjenica što su slušale o njemu je prizvala Krišninu prisustvo kao da je lično tu.
And this is actually the symptom of Krishna Katha. The more you hear, the more you become eager to hear more. It never becomes boring.
I to je zapravo simptom Krishna Katha. Što više slušate, to više želite da slušate i nikada vam ne postane dosadno.
Mundane subject matters become boring after some time.
Svetovne teme postaju dosadne nakon nekog vremena.
Therefore it's also called Puna charvita charvanam, chewing the chewed again and again.
I zbog toga se to stručno kaže, to je žvakanje onoga što je već prožvakano.
So to chew or to relish Krishna Katha is not the same process.
Žvakati ili kušati Krishna Katha, to nije isti proces.
Or it doesn't have the same result.
I on nema isti rezultat.
Like if you chew sugar cane, in the beginning is very sweet, but the more you chew, it becomes tasteless, you throw it away.
Baš kao kada žvaćete šećernu trsku, a u početku ima nekog soka ili nektara, ali kasnije nema ničega.
Or you chewing gum, you know, beginning it's tasty, and you chew, it becomes tasteless, has no more taste in it, so you can also spit it out.
Ili kao kad uzmete žvakaću gumu, onda ona u početku ima neki ukus, ali jako brzo više nema ukusa i onda je ispljunete.
And food is only tasty as long you have an appetite.
Hrana je ukusna sve dotle dok imate apetit.
If you have not a good appetite and a good digestion, even the best feast doesn't give you a taste and satisfaction and relishment.
A ako nemate dobro varenje i ako nemate dobar apetit, onda čak i najlepša hrana vam ne pruža nikakvo zadovoljstvo.
And even if you have a good appetite, if you eat, after some time you have no more taste for the same nice, tasty food and sweets.
Ali čak i da imate dobar apetit, nakon nekog vremena više vam se ne jedu ta lepa hrana, ti lepi slatkiši.
Another example is given by Rupa Goswami in the Upadeshamrita is about a jaundice disease person.
A drugi primjer je dao Šrila Rupa Goswami u Upadeshamrite o osobi koja boluje od žutice.
For him, if you offer him some sugar cane or some sweet, it's bitter for him.
Za takvu osobu ako joj date žuti šećer ili šećer od šećerne trske, njoj je taj sladak šećer njoj se čini kao da je gorak.
But it is considered the best medicine.
Ali to se smatra najboljim lekom.
He has to take it, although it tastes bitter, because with the time it becomes sweet. And then if he relishes sweetness, that means he is cured by the jaundice disease.
Jer ta osoba koja boluje od žutice, to je za nju jedini lek. Ako nastavi da ga redovno uzima, onda će na kraju biti izlečena.
In the same way, chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra or chanting, hearing and chanting about Krishna Katha is maybe bitter in the beginning, but at the time it becomes sweet.
Na isti način, slušanje tema o Krišni na početku može biti gorko, ali kasnije kada se izlečimo postaje sve slađe i slađe.
Those who are on the sensual and mental platform, they always have to change subject matters.
Osobe koje se nalaze na nivou uma i čula, one uvek moraju da menjaju teme o kojima pričaju.
That means that they actually don't really relish.
To znači da nemaju baš ukus za takve teme.
For them, the variety is the mother of enjoyment.
Jer za njih je raznolikost majka uživanja.
Of course, in Krishna consciousness, there's also a variety, but even if you just chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra all the time, or you read the same book again and again, it's always relishable.
Naravno, u svesnosti Krišne također radimo iste stvari, mantramo Maha Mantru, čitamo knjige, ali što to više radimo, sve više ukusa dobijamo.
And as Srila Prabhupada is pointing out, you find more and more information and nectar in it.
I Šrila Prabhupada kaže da u tome nalazimo sve više i više informacija i nektara.
Although you read Bhagavatam so many times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 10 times, hundreds of times, Bhagavad Gita the same. The more you read, the more you find information in it, because it becomes revealed to you by the journey of hearing and chanting about Krishna Katha.
Iako smo možda pročitali Šrimad Bhagavatam ili Bhagavad Gitu 10, 20, 50, 100 puta, još uvek kada čitamo nalazimo sve veći i veći nektar u tome.
So Krishna Katha is a wonderful opportunity. It's great mercy.
Tako da je slušanje tema o Krišni veliki blagoslov, velika milost.
It is especially recommended by all our great acharyas like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the 6 Goswamis headed by Rupa Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami.
Posebno su ga preporučile sve ove velike navedene osobe.
Sripad Sridhar Swami, the original commentator of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Kao i
Charkavati Thakur.
Kao i sve ove navedene osobe.
So in this way, the nectar is spread, and it's recommended by our professors, our great acharyas.
I na taj način Šrimad Bhagavatam je preporučen od strane naših velikih profesora, naših velikih ačarija, duhovnih učitelja.
They know what is the best medicine for the people in Kali Yuga.
Oni znaju šta je najbolji lek za ljude u Kali Yugi.
Actually, it's the best medicine at any time, but in other ages also other processes work. But in this age, only Krishna Katha and Harinam is working.
Naravno, to je prisutno i u drugim dobima, ali u ovom dobu jedino Krishna Katha i Harinam deluju.
Parikshit Maharaj, during hearing from Shukadev Goswami the Srimad Bhagavatam, he became more and more inspired.
Parikshit Maharaj, dok je slušao od Šukadev Gosvamija, on je postao sve više i više inspirisan.
Therefore, in the 10th canto, 1st chapter, text 4, he told to Shukadev Goswami.
I zato u 10. pevanju, u 1. poglavlju, stihu broj 4, on je rekao Šukadev Gosvamiju:
Tasai upagiyamanat avaujadat shrotriya manobhiramat ka uttama shloka gunanuvadat human viracheta vinapashugyat. It's also the word uttama shloka appearing.
I vidimo da se i u ovom stihu pojavljuje reč Uttama shloka.
Uttama shloka means the supreme poetry, either glorify the words that glorify the supreme personality of Godhead, or the words of the great personalities who glorify the Lord.
Uttama shloka znači probrani stihovi kojima se slavi svevišnja božanska ličnost, ili osoba koja probranim stihovima slavi svevišnju božansku ličnost.
Uttama means supreme.
Uttama znači vrhovni.
Or superior.
Ili nadmoćniji.
Extraordinary.
Neobični.
Shloka means verse or poetry, either in prose or in what is so prose and poetry.
To je ili u prozi ili u stihu.
So he says, glorification of the supreme personality of God that is performed in the parampara system.
I ovaj stih kaže, slavljenje svevišnje božanske ličnosti se odvija unutar parampara sistema.
That is, it is conveyed from the spiritual master to the disciple.
Što znači da se prenosi sa duhovnog učitelja na učenika.
Such glorification is relished by those no longer interested in the false temporary glorification of this cosmic manifestation.
I za takvo slavljenje su zainteresovani oni koji se više ne zanimaju za slavljenje ove privremene kosmičke manifestacije.
Descriptions of the Lord are the right medicine for the conditioned soul undergoing repeated birth and death.
Slušanje tema o Krišni je pravi lek za svakog onog koji se podvrgava neprestanom rođenju i smrti.
Therefore, who will cease hearing such glorification of the Lord except a butcher or one who is killing his own self?
Zbog toga, ko će prestati da sluša o svevišnjoj božanskoj ličnosti osim mesara ili oni koji ubijaju svoju sopstvenu dušu?
And Narad Muni, he recommends.
Narada Muni on preporučuje
in Vyasa Shiksha.
U pustima Vyasadevu.
First canto, 5th chapter, text 22.
1.5.22 stih.
Idam hi pumshas tapasa shutasya va svishtasya suktasya cha buddhitattayo avichyortartha kavibir nirupito yat uttama shloka gunanuvanam. Learned circles have positively concluded
Učeni krugovi su pozitivno zaključili
that the infallible purpose of the advancement of knowledge,
da je nepogrešivi cilj napretka u znanju,
namely austerities, tapa,
što znači strogosti ili tapa,
study of the Veda, shrutas,
studiranje, proučavanje Veda, šruta,
sacrifice, yagya,
žrtvovanja ili jagi,
chanting of Vedic hymns,
mantranja vedskih mantri,
and giving in charity,
ili pevanja i davanja u milostinju,
culminates in the transcendental descriptions of the Lord who is defined in choice poetry.
Sve te aktivnosti dostižu svoj vrhunac u slavljenju Gospoda, koji se slavi odabranim poezijom.
That was practically the conclusive word of Narada's instruction to Narada Muni.
To su zapravo bila završna uputstva Narada Munija Vyasadevu.
So please study this purport by Srila Prabhupada. It's very interesting.
Molim vas, proučite ovaj smisao Šrila Prabhupada, veoma je zanimljiv.
From first canto, 5th chapter, text 22.
Iz prvog pevanja, 5. poglavlja, stih broj 22.
So there Srila Prabhupada writes, that people have natural qualifications or tendencies for education, for music, for poetry, for art.
I tamo je Šrila Prabhupada napisao da ljudi imaju prirodnu sklonost da se obrazuju u muzici, umetnosti, nauci.
For music, for culture.
Za muziku, za kulturu.
But if it is not focused on the Lord, it is pale and dry.
Ali ako to nije usmereno prema Gospodu, to je veoma bledo i suvo.
But if all these arts are engaged in the Lord's service, in glorifying Him through these arts and through these activities, then each art becomes perfect.
Ali ako se tendencija prema umetnosti usmeri ka slavljenju Gospoda, onda sve te umetnosti postaju savršene.
It means music, if it is glorifying the Lord, becomes perfect.
Što znači muzika, ako slavi Gospoda, ona postaje savršena.
Songs glorifying the Lord are perfect.
Pesme koje slave Gospoda su savršene.
Art describing the Lord's glory and pastimes are perfect.
Umetnost koja opisuje Gospodove zabave je savršena.
Architecture is perfect if one builds a nice temple or church for the glories of the Lord.
Arhitektura postaje savršena ako se sagradi prikladna crkva ili hram za Gospoda.
Just see these gigantic buildings we still have, even they are monuments, they're staying 700-800 and almost 1000 years.
Samo pogledajte sve te prelepe građevine koje su tu već 500, 600, 700 godina.
You think our buildings that are built today, they will stay more than 100 years?
Da li mislite da će ove zgrade koje se grade danas da opstanu više od 100 godina?
They will all fall apart before because they are made of plastic, beton, glass.
Ne, srušit će se ranije zbog toga što su napravljene od plastike, od stakla, od betona.
With so much electronics in it.
Sa toliko puno elektronike u njima.
If the electronic fails, nothing works anymore.
Ako elektronika zakaže, u njima više ništa ne radi.
But in these churches, they have no electronic at all.
Ali znate, u tim starim crkvama uopšte ni ne postoji elektronika.
Those who were building these churches, they were on temples, they had no electronic and any instruments to build them.
I oni koji su ih gradili nisu imali nikakvu elektroniku ili tako nešto da ih sagrade.
Well, how is it possible that they could build such huge monuments of churches and temples?
I kako je onda moguće da su izgradili tako velike, velelepne crkve i hramove?
Without modern technology.
Bez moderne tehnologije.
Without electricity in it.
Bez elektronike u njima.
Still the architecture is so perfect, that the light in the daytime, it was there. The sound is perfect in it. It was complete, perfect architecture.
To je bila savršena arhitektura. Tačno je svetlo padalo da lepo budu osvetljene. Kad se peva unutra, zvuk se tako lepo širi.
Such architects you cannot find nowadays anymore. And if somebody is available, you cannot pay him. It's so expensive.
Takve građevine ne možete naći danas. Čak i da bi neko hteo da ih sagradi, sve je to toliko skupo.
And those who were building, they were building such temples, for the glories of the Lord.
I oni koji su gradili takva velelepna zdanja, oni su ih gradili da bi se u njima slavio Gospod.
That means if where thousands of people can come together and hear about the glories of the Lord without disturbance of sound quality.
Što znači da je to urađeno da bi 1000 ljudi dobili mogućnost da dođu da slušaju o Bogu bez da postoji problem sa kvalitetom zvuka.
There's no echo in it. There's no imperfection in it. The sound is perfect.
U njima ne postoji eho, ne postoje nesavršenosti. U njima je sve savršeno.
So because this place is meant, for glorifying the Lord. Nowadays we need loudspeaker to get such effects.
I to su bila takva mesta. A mi danas da bi se čuli potrebni su nam zvučnici.
And fancy microphones. So many times they don't work and peeps and make all kinds of side effects.
I ovi moderni mikrofoni koji uopšte ni ne rade kako treba. Ispuštaju neke zvukove, pište, šuškaju.
So that means we think nowadays we have better quality, but no quality is going down.
I mi mislimo danas imamo bolji kvalitet, ali ne, kvalitet pada i pada.
Because devotion is going down.
I zbog toga što devocija pada na dole.
People previously had much more devotion, much more faith and belief in God.
Ljudi su u ranijim vremenima imali mnogo više vere i devocije prema Bogu.
Therefore, the people with a great eagerness rushed to the temple or to the church, to participate in the ceremony.
I zbog toga su ljudi sa velikim verom žurili u hramove i u crkve da bi prisustvovali Božjoj službi.
For the churches and temples were on a hill, or a middle in the town, and it had huge bells, and they were ringing, not with electricity. You had to pull on them with ropes. I did it myself. I was a small boy in the Sunday school. We had sometimes to go and ring the church bell.
I onda bi ljudi odlazili u crkve i tamo bi ručno zvonili zvona. Ja kad sam bio mali, ja sam odlazio u crkvu i također sam vukao taj konopac da bi zvona zvonila. To nije nikad bilo na struju, samo tako ručno.
Means nowadays if people hear church bell, they become disturbed because they disturbs my sleep.
Danas ljudi kad čuju crkvena zvona, oni kažu, ovaj zvuk ometa moje spavanje.
But actually the church bell is made to wake you up, like in the temple they also have bells or gongs, and then to wake you up, Chief Chago, Gore Chandra Bole.
Ali ta crkvena zvona su baš tome i namenjena da vas probude, kao što ova pesma kaže.
Then everyone rise and they run to the church, they rush to the church, that they are not too late.
I u stara vremena svako bi ustao rano i požurio bi u crkvu da ne zakasni.
Actually, when I was a small child, I was growing up near a former monastery or a big church.
Zapravo kad sam bio dečak, onda sam rastao pored jednog zdanja što je bio bivši manastir.
Anyway, I forgot about the event, but my aunt reminded me one time.
Ja sam to baš i zaboravio, ali jedno me je moja tetka podsjetila na to.
Because she told, when I heard the bells of the church, I became very happy and I was clapping in the hand. I was a 3-4-year-old boy.
I tetka mi je rekla, kad sam bio mali dečak, kad bi čuo zvuk zvona, ja bi postao jako sretan i ovako bi tapšao rukama.
And then she told, that because I visited her once when I was a Hare Krishna, to give her a book.
Jednom sam je posjetio kada sam postao Hare Krishna i odneo sam je knjigu.
So she narrated the story to me.
I ona mi je ispričala onda tu priču.
And then she told, that means she knew. She thought either he will become a monk or a missionary.
I ona mi je rekla da je ona već tada znala, ovaj dečko će postati ili monah ili misionar.
Or a priest,
Ili sveštenik.
That's very interesting.
Veoma zanimljivo, zar ne?
Of course, I could not remember that event.
Naravno, ja nisam mogao da se setim tog događaja.
It's very interesting. Even nowadays, I always like to hear the ringing of the bells.
I jako zanimljivo, ja i dan danas volim da čujem zvonjavu zvona.
And in many times where we moved, in the last 20 years to different places, and even where we have the temple, there's always church in nearby, where there are many times the bells are ringing.
I gde god smo živjeli tokom zadnjih 20 godina, pored svakog našeg stana gdje smo živjeli, uvijek je negdje bila blizu neka crkva, evo čak i blizu hrama je crkva gdje se stalno čuje zvonjava zvona.
So anyway, the Narad, coming back to Narad Muni, he advised Vyasadeva, you're unhappy and not satisfied fully because you didn't glorify through your works and literatures the Supreme Personality's qualities enough.
I Narada Muni je rekao Vyasadevu, nisi zadovoljan, zato što kroz svoja dela nisi dovoljno slavio svevišnju božansku ličnost.
Although you want to do something good for the people, but actually you actually didn't give them the real nectar. You give them a little nectar, also with poison mixed.
Iako si ljudima mogao da daš nektar, jeste, ti si dao malo nektara, ali pomešanog sa malo otrova.
But you should give them the real nectar. Then you will become also your heart will become fully nectarian and filled with nectar, and you become very most joyful and satisfied.
Ali trebaš im dati potpuni nektar, onda će i tvoje srce postati potpuno zadovoljno.
So therefore he advised him, if you want to write literature, you should only write literatures about the glories of the Lord.
I onda ga je posavjetovao, ako želiš da pišeš literaturu, piši samo literaturu koja slavi Gospoda.
This is declared by the great personalities, great sages.
I to je ono što izjavljuju velike osobe, veliki mudraci.
And such kind of glories are described as uttama shlokas, the supreme poetry, or very choice or choosy nectarian poetry.
I takvo slavljenje se smatra najuzvišenijim slavljenjem punim nektara.
Therefore, on the advice of Narada Muni, Srila Vyasadeva compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam.
I zbog toga je po savjetu Narada Munija Srila Vyasadev sastavio Srimad Bhagavatam.
This is pointed out in the first canto, third chapter, text 40.
To je naglašeno u prvom pevanju, trećem poglavlju, stihu broj 40.
Idam Bhagavatam nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishrayasaya Lokasya Danyang Svastyanam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of God.
U prevodu se kaže, ovaj Srimad Bhagavatam je književna inkarnacija Boga.
And it is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of the Lord.
A sastavio ga je Srila Vyasadev, inkarnacija Boga.
It is meant for the ultimate good of all people.
Namenjen je da donese najviši blagoslov svim ljudima.
And it is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect.
I on nosi sa sobom sav uspeh, svo blaženstvo i svu savršenost.
And Srila Vyasadeva, he gave this mission and these words also to his son Shukadeva Goswami.
I Srila Vyasadev je dao ovaj stih i ovu misiju svom sinu Šukadev Gosvamiju.
For Bhagavatam 1.1.3 explains.
I zbog toga Bhagavatam u stihu 1.1.3 objašnjava.
Igama kalpataro galitam palam shuka mukha amrita drava samyitam pipata Bhagavatam rasam alayam muhur ahorasika bhuvi bhavukaha. O expert and thoughtful man,
O iskusni misaoni ljudi,
relish the Srimad Bhagavatam, the major fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literature.
okusite ovaj slatki Srimad Bhagavatam, zreli plod drveta želja vedske književnosti.
It emanated from the lips of Sri Shukadeva Goswami.
Njegov nektarski sok je potekao sa usana Šila Šukadeva Gosvamiju.
Shuka mukha amrita drava samyitam. And therefore this fruit has become even more tasteful,
I zbog toga je on postao još ukusniji,
although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including the liberated souls.
iako je njegov nektarski sok mogao da se okusi i ranije, i njega su iskušavali i ranije mnogi oslobođeni
Like Shukadev Goswami, he was liberated soul, but he became attracted to the katha or the narrations of the different descriptions and verses from Srimad Bhagavatam.
Kao što je i Shukadev Goswami bio oslobođena osoba, ali je bio privučen tim nektarskim slikovima Srimad Bhagavatama.
He gave up his impersonal meditation, his Brahman meditation and his self-satisfaction, Atmarama.
I bio je toliko zadovoljan da je napustio svoju meditaciju na Brahman i svoje zadovoljstvo koje osjeća unutar sebe.
And he became mad after Krishna.
I postao je lud za Krišnom.
And later on he spoke Bhagavatam, the words from Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit.
I kasnije je izgovorio stihove Bhagavatama Maharaja Parikshit.
And Sutta Goswami was also present, so he heard also the nectarian words of Shukadev Goswami.
Sutta Goswami je također tu bio prisutan i on je čuo nektarske riječi Shukadev Goswamija.
Now the sages of Naimisharanya, they wanted to hear from him the same topic, but according to his own realization, not just reputation like a papagay.
I onda je Šrila Sutta Goswami izgovorio to što je čuo, ali u svoje spoznaje, a nije samo onako ponovio kao papagaj.
So they were very eager to hear to relish Bhagavatam or Krishna Katha.
Tako da ti mudraci su bili veoma željni da okuse taj nektar Krishna Katha.
Especially from Sutta Goswami, because he was representative of Shukadev Goswami.
Posebno su želeli da čuju od Sute Gosvamija, pošto je on predstavnik Šukadeve Gosvamija.
He was a pure soul, pure in heart and pure in consciousness.
On je bio čista duša, čist u srcu, čist u svesnosti.
He became fully realized by this hearing of Krishna Katha from the bona fide source, Shukadev Goswami.
I postao je pročišćen tako što je slušao od vjerodostojnog izvora od Shukadev Gosvamija.
So now the sages, they wanted to hear from him, they were eager to hear from him, they had trust in him.
I sada su mudraci željeli da čuju od njega, imali su veru u njega, imali su ukus da slušaju od njega.
Although we heard already many times about Krishna and his avatars, please tell us more about it, because whenever those who are relishing the topic of Krishna Katha, they never become satiated, they never become tired of it.
I rekli su, iako smo puno puta već slušali o tome, želimo i dalje da slušamo, jer oni koji imaju ukus za takve teme, oni nikad ne postanu zasićeni, uvek žele da slušaju sve više i više.
Therefore, in our process is to following the footsteps of these great acharyas.
I zbog toga je naš proces slediti stope tih velikih ačarija.
And great devotees of the Lord who became perfect by the hearing and chanting process about Krishna.
I velikih duša koje su postale savršene pevajući i slušajući o Krišni.
Shukadev Goswami became perfect by reciting Bhagavatam, and Parikshit Maharaj became perfect by hearing about it.
Shukadev Goswami je postao savršen recitujući Šrimad Bhagavatama, Maharaj Parikshit tako što ga je slušao.
Prahlad Maharaj by remembering it.
Prahlad Maharaj tako što ga se sećao.
Lakshmi Devi by worshipping the Lord's lotus feet.
Lakshmi Devi tako što je obožavala Gospodova lotosova stopala.
Parikshit Maharaj by worshipping him. Prithu Maharaj by worshipping him.
Prithu Maharaj tako što ga je obožavao.
And who became perfect by offering prayers. Akrura by offering prayers.
Akrura je postao savršen upućujući molitve.
And by full surrender is Bali Maharaj.
A potpuno predavanje je Bali Maharaj.
So, and Ambarish Maharaj, although he was a king, but he was a devotee king, so all 9 activities of Shravanam Kirtanam he was practicing.
A Maharaj Ambarish, iako je bio kralj, on je praktikovao svih ovih 9 procesa predanog služenja.
And so spiritual life starts with hearing and chanting, Shravanam Kirtanam.
Duhovni život počinje sa slušanjem i pevanjem.
I sent today from one lecture some quote by Srila Prabhupada.
Poslao sam danas izvod iz jedne lekcije od Srila Prabhupada.
So he said, so here is the solution.
Srila Prabhupada kaže, ovdje je rješenje.
That if you want to be safe from this chaotic condition of life, if you want to be free from all anxieties,
ako želite da budete spašeni iz ovog haotičnog stanja života, ako želite da budete spašeni od svih uznemirenja i teskoba,
then your business is Shrotavya.
U tom slučaju vaš posao je Shrotavya.
To hear about the supreme controller Krishna.
Da slušate o vrhovnom kontroloru Krišni.
And for hearing about the supreme controller, we have got 80 books like that.
Da bi slušali o Krišni, u tu svrhu smo objavili 80 knjiga.
Not 1, 2, 3 or 4, 80 books.
Ne 1, 2 ili 3, 80 knjiga.
So if you are actually intelligent, if you are actually scientist or scientific inclined,
ako ste zapravo inteligentni, ako ste naučno orijentisani, ako imate naučne sklonosti,
you are actually philosopher,
ako ste pravi filozof,
then read these books.
Onda čitajte ove knjige.
That is called Shrotavya, hearing.
To se zove Shrotavya ili slušanje.
Hear about the supreme controller.
Slušajte o vrhovnom kontroloru.
Not that simply God is great. Just try to understand how great he is.
Ne da je Bog samo velik, nego probajte da shvatite koliko je velik.
Because many they glorify him as the greatest, but how great he is, they don't know.
Jer mnogi ga slave kao velikog, ali koliko je veliki to ne znaju.
So the description about the Lord's form, his pastimes, his qualities, his names, his associates, his abode are not described. They're only described in the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Gospodove slave, njegovi pratioci, njegove zabave, to opisani su jedino u knjizi koja se zove Srimad Bhagavatam.
So therefore, don't just take God as great. No, you have to. If you hear Srimad Bhagavatam, you will understand how great he actually is.
Nemojte samo prihvatiti da je Bog velik. Kada čitate Srimad Bhagavatam, onda ćete shvatiti koliko je on zapravo velik.
Just try to understand how God is great. That you will find in this literature.
Samo probajte da shvatite koliko je Bog velik. To ćete shvatiti proučavajući ovu literaturu.
There is no other literature throughout the whole world.
Ne postoji takva literatura širom cijelog sveta.
You will find it here.
To ćete naći ovdje.
Shrotavya kirtitavyascha. Not only hearing like dull. As soon as here, if you are, then you spread this knowledge. Kirtavya.
Ako primite ovo znanje, onda ga delite i dalje.
So the point is, we should not just hear and remain dull.
Poenta nije u tome da samo slušamo i da postanemo tupi.
Without moving, without practicing it. Bez
kretanja, bez toga da to praktikujemo.
Therefore, if you hear this Bhagavatam from the authoritative sources from Acharya, then he injects in you through this process that you become inspired to glorify it.
Kada čujete od Acharye, on u vas ubrizga tu želju da budete željni da to slušate.
Then you go out to preach the glories of the Lord.
I onda idete napolje da propovedate slave Gospoda.
Not because somebody told you, because out of your own enthusiasm.
I to ne zbog toga što vam je neko to rekao, ili naredio, već zbog svog sopstvenog entuzijazma.
Because of your own conviction and faith.
I zbog vaše lične vere i ubeđenosti.
As I told many times, we have to be convinced, and then we can convince others.
Kao što sam puno puta rekao, mi trebamo prvi postati uvereni i onda tek možemo uveriti druge.
Srila Prabhupada often told, because I'm convinced, therefore I can convince others. Therefore you also have to be convinced. Otherwise, how this Krishna consciousness movement will be spread?
Srila Prabhupada bi znao da govori, zato što sam ja uveren, zato ja mogu da uverim i vas, jer ako nismo uvereni, kako se ovaj pokret za svesnost Krišne može proširiti?
Therefore, from Shravanam comes Kirtanam, natural.
I zbog toga prirodno od Shravanam dolazi Kirtanam.
Not artificial.
Ali ne na veštački način.
Srila Prabhupada told, because I was good in Shravanam, therefore I became good in Kirtanam.
Srila Prabhupada je rekao, zato što sam bio dobar u Shravanam, zato sam sada dobar u Kirtanam.
His Guru Maharaj remarked, this boy, he likes to hear, he never leaves. Others come and go, but he always remains.
I njegov Guru Maharaj je primetio, ovaj dečak jako voli da sluša, ostali dolaze i odlaze, ali on ostaje.
So therefore he's qualified, for Kirtanam, for a preacher. Therefore he sent him to the West to preach to the English-speaking world.
I zbog toga je kvalifikovan za Kirtanam, za propovedanje, i zbog toga ga je poslao da ode da propoveda u zapadne zemlje.
Therefore, Kirtan means preaching.
Zbog toga Kirtan znači propovedanje.
Kirtan means not only Kirtan singing and dancing in the temple or on the street, but Kirtan means printed Kirtan or Sankirtan, Prihabmidanga.
Kirtan ne znači samo pevanje u hramu ili na ulici. Kirtan također znači štampani kirtan, brihad mridanga.
So the devotee who distributes books, he also not only distributes the books, he also has to say something.
I bhakta koji deli knjige, on nije samo da ih deli, on također i kaže nešto o njima.
So to convince the people to take the book.
Da bi uverio ljude da uzmu knjigu.
Therefore, our words are maybe perfect or imperfect.
Tako da naše reči možda mogu biti savršene ili nesavršene.
It actually doesn't matter because you distribute books, they are perfect.
I to zapravo nije ni bitno, zato što mi delimo knjige koje su savršene.
And if you distribute the books, you also become perfect.
I ako delite knjige, i vi također postajete savršeni.
Whatever you say, whatever you do, if you distribute the books, that's perfect action.
Šta god radite i šta god kažete kad delite knjige, to je savršeno delo.
So therefore the devotee says, my dear sir, there is God. God is like this.
I zbog toga bhakta kaže ljudima, dragi moji gospodine, ovdje je Bog, on je takav i ovakav.
When they ask you from where you know, then you say, I have heard it from this authority, from Srimad Bhagavatam.
I ako nas ljudi pitaju gdje smo to čuli, mi kažemo od autoriteta, Srimad Bhagavatam.
That is kirtan.
I to je kirtavja ili kirtan. To je propovedanje.
But first we have to hear.
Ali prvo moramo čuti.
Without hearing, how you will preach?
Bez slušanja, kako ćemo propovedati?
For Srila Prabhupada always was very unhappy when his leaders or senior devotees didn't come to his class.
I zbog toga je Srila Prabhupada bio veoma nezadovoljan kada stariji bhakte ili vođe ne bi dolazili na njegove lekcije.
So he told how we will learn to preach, you don't hear from Acharya, from the Guru.
I govorio bi im kako ćete naučiti da propovedate ako ne dolazite na lekcije gurua.
What you will preach, what you will speak, if you have not education and heard sufficiently from your guru.
Šta ćete propovedati, šta ćete pričati ako niste dovoljno čuli od svog gurua?
That was the qualification of Srila Prabhupada.
To je bila Šrila Prabhupadova
He always
kvalifikacija.
stayed in front of his guru to hear from him, even though he told many things I didn't understood when my spiritual master spoke.
On bi uvek ostao pažljiv pred svojim duhovnim učiteljem i slušao, iako je sam rekao da mnoge stvari nije mogao da razume.
Sometimes he also didn't completely agree with it,
Ponekad se nije čak ni kompletno slagao s tim što je
but
čuo.
still he never lost the trust to hear from his guru.
Ali ipak nikad nije izgubio veru da sluša od svog gurua.
And he always remained there, to hear from him.
I uvek je ostajao tu da bi čuo od njega.
Others went when the ringing of bells were for darshan or for artik, the brahmacharis rushed out from the class.
Drugi, neki brahmačari, oni bi izleteli iz sobe gde je predavao duhovni učitelj, kad bi čuli zvona da hoće da vide božanstvo.
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati remarked, they only go to take darshan of a stone, metal and wood.
A Šrila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur je onda primetio, oni su otrčali samo da bi imali daršan sa kamenom, metalom i drvetom.
Because the deity is revealed by the guru.
Zato što božanstvo razotkriva guru.
It's not important what we see with our senses. Our senses have to become purified by hearing or chanting, from hearing from spiritual master and from the authorized scriptures.
Nije bitno ono što opažamo svojim čulima, nego ono što čujemo od duhovnog učitelja i razotkrivenih svetih spisa.
Only with the purified, spiritualized senses we can see Krishna's deity form and establish a relationship with him.
I jedino pročišćenim čulima možemo pravilno videti oblik božanstava i uspostaviti svoj odnos sa njim.
It comes from service attitude.
To dolazi od stava služenja.
So hearing and chanting is also service.
Slušanje i pevanje je također služba.
Because then you become inspired to go in action.
Jer onda postajete inspirisani da stupite u akciju.
You only hear and chant and in the end nothing happens, then something is wrong in the process.
Ako samo slušate i pevate i na kraju se ništa ne desi, onda je nešto u redu, onda ne sledite pravilno proces.
So we should not remain dull-headed. That's the point Prabhupada made here.
Ne trebamo ostati tupoglavci. To je glavna poenta ovdje.
And you should become very enthusiastic and very active to do something for spreading this Krishna consciousness movement.
Trebamo postati veoma entuzijastični i veoma željni da uradimo nešto da bi širili ovaj pokret za svesnost Krišne.
And this process is described in the second canto, second chapter, text 15.
A ovaj proces je opisan
5.
Drugo pevanje, drugo poglavlje, stih broj 5.
2:1:5.
Izvinjavam se, 1:2:5.
And as soon as you become expert hearer and expert chanter, then you will remember always. This is called smartavya.
Čim postanete stručan slušalac i stručan govornik, onda
This is called smartavya, remembering.
Aha.
Hear and chant, then you remember.
Ako slušate i pevate, onda ćete moći da se sećate.
And as soon as you will always remember Krishna, then there is no more fear.
I čim dođete na nivo neprestanog sećanja na Krišnu, više nema straha.
Finish.
Gotovo.
That is life. Then life starts.
Onda pravi život počinje.
Because you wake up.
Jer onda se budite.
You awake in spiritual life. You're no more fear. It's abhayam.
I onda ste probuđeni u duhovnom životu i više nema straha, postajete abhayam, ustrašivi.
So that means is hearing and chanting will lead to remembrance about Krishna, smartavyam sadatam Vishnu.
To znači da će ovo sećanje i pevanje o Krišni dovesti do it will lead to
remembrance about Vishnu.
To će dovesti, slušanje i pevanje će dovesti do sećanja na Višnua.
Wake up. So that's described in 2:1:5.
To je opisano u stihu 1:2:5.
Also a very famous verse.
To je također
Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Hari Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha Smartavyas Chechatabhayam. O descendant of King Bharat, one who desires to be free from all miseries,
onaj ko želi da postane slobodan od svih beda,
must hear about, glorify, and also remember the personality of Godhead,
mora se sećati i slaviti svevišnju božansku ličnost,
who is the super soul in everyone's heart,
koja je nad duša u svačijem srcu,
the supreme controller and the savior from all miseries.
Vrhovni kontrolor i spasilac od svih nevolja i beda.
So that means this hearing, chanting, and remembering makes you free from anxieties, from all fears.
To znači ovo pevanje i sećanje vas čine slobodnim od svih nevolja i beda.
Because all these conditionings are appearances on the bodily platform, of sensual platform.
Jer sva uznemirenja se zapravo dešavaju na nivou uma i čula.
So when our senses become purified by hearing, chanting, and remembering ultimately, and then serving, so then one becomes fearless, one becomes joyful.
Kada se naša čula pročiste pomoću procesa slušanja, pevanja i nakon toga sećanja, onda osoba postaje neustrašiva i veoma radosna.
And then one is actually free.
I onda je osoba zapravo slobodna.
You're free, although you're still in the material body, still in the material world, but you're free because your consciousness is freed from the bodily concept. Your completely consciousness is completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness.
Postajete slobodni. Iako se još uvijek nalazite unutar materijalnog sveta u materijalnom telu, vi postajete slobodni zato što je vaša svesnost utemeljena u svesnosti Krišne.
That's real life.
To je pravi život.
That means you're really awake, you're alive.
To znači da ste onda zapravo budni, zapravo živi.
One is not engaged and wake up in hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna and serving Krishna, then one is dead, although you're so-called alive.
Ako osoba nije budna u slušanju o Krišni, o pevanju o Krišni, o sećanju Krišne i služenju Krišne, onda takva osoba nije živa, ona kao da je mrtva.
So life symptom is not just by breathing or by walking, moving around.
Životni simptom nije samo disanje, kretanje, hodanje unaokolo.
Blacksmith belly, it's also breathing.
To je poput kovačkih mehova koji također dišu.
The peacock, these rings on the peacock feather is also appear like eyes.
Ti krugovi na paunovom perju također izgledaju kao oči.
Ears are like snake holes if they don't hear about Krishna.
Uši su poput zmijskih rupa ako ne slušaju o Krišni.
The tongue is not glorified, vibrating Krishna Katha or Krishna's name, and who are not engaged in glorifying Krishna is like quacking a frog.
Jezik koji ne slavi Krišnu, njegovi zvukovi su nalik na kreketanje žaba.
If you don't use your legs, to walk to the temple or go on Sankirtan, they're just like tree trunks.
Ako ne koristite svoje noge da biste otišli do hrama ili u Sankirtan, onda su vaše noge nalik deblima drveta.
So in this way, all our senses, gross senses and knowledge inquiring senses should all be engaged in the service and glorification of Krishna.
I zbog toga sva naša radna čula i čula za sticanje stanja trebaju biti uključena u slavljenje Krišne. Radna čula, čula za delovanje.
Okay, I stop here. And there are any questions, Mahananda? You're here attentively, I see.
Ja ću se ovdje zaustaviti.
Or comment?
Mahananda ima neko pitanje, vidim da je slušao veoma pažljivo.
Yes, thank you very much for this nice lecture, Guru Maharaj. And yes, it's very inspired to hear how can I connecting more and more in Qatar and Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, because then we can better, yes, the kirtan, preaching, realization. This is a very good point today. I hope so much that I can more and more understand. I must say, sometimes when you give class, I think I'm the first day in Krishna consciousness. It's very, very difficult for me. I don't know why. And now yes, I become more and more feeling for this. This is, yes, I'm so stur. I'm so what is the word? So
Yeah, stur was
stur. Yes, stur.
blockhead, knucklehead.
Okay. Yes, and yes, I'm very happy. Become so kindlich. Wie sagt man kindliche Happiness?
Childish.
Freude.
Childish.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
The kingdom of God is open for those who are who have a childlike understanding of the Lord.
Kraljevstvo Boga je otvoreno za one koji Boga shvataju poput dece.
Yes.
Simplicity.
Jednostavnost.
Equivalent to Vaishnava is simplicity. He's honest, he's simple.
Ukras Vajšnave je njegova iskrenost, njegova jednostavnost.
Like a child.
Baš poput deteta.
It's yes. One side, we must in this material world to make a job. We are very strong and fighting and have many responsibilities. But on the other side, when we will make become Krishna consciousness more and more, then we must become softly and eagerness, and this is it's a completely different. So it's maybe it's for me a little difficult.
That's the art of life, huh?
Yes.
That's Erich Fromm, huh? Art of life.
Okay. Erich Fromm, yeah, Erich Fromm. Okay. So and
Should I translate what he said?
Previously we distributed die Kunst zum Leben, die Kunst zum Leben, zu leben, die Kunst zu leben, das Buch. Und dann viele Leute haben das verwechselt mit dem Kunst zu lieben oder Art of Life of Erich Fromm, you know. Anyway, no, that's good realization. Like our great example is Gop Kumar. Gop Kumar, you know, the in the story of Sanatana Goswami, where he explains, he gives a whole guide of the long journey to Goloka in the form of Gop Kumar. And this is actually like a red thread, you know, who guides us through the whole stories and chapters and levels of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the form of the role model of an ideal devotee, simple, who is simple-hearted. He's a villager, a cowherd boy from Gokul, from Govardhan, from Vrindavan, and he had a very simple heart. He met the saintly person, his guru, who gave him mantra, and with this, and he told, and he advised him, you just chant this mantra every day, you never leave it, never give it up, and this mantra. By recitation of this mantra, it will bring you to the supreme goal of life. That's what you actually, it will fulfill your ultimate desire. And his ultimate desire, indwelling desire, inneruhenden Wunsch im Herzen was actually to meet his old friend Krishna, who is the original cowherd boy in Goloka. And this mantra really brought him in so many positions. He became a king. He came to Jagannath-puri, became the king of Puri. He became an Indra. Then he became Brahma. Then he went to Vaikuntha, he went also to the sages in the Tapaloka, and so on. They advised him, don't look always after the form of the Lord. He's in your heart. You don't have to chant his mantra. You just meditate. Then he tried to follow their advice, but then he realized, I cannot just meditate. This is I cannot give up my mantra. This mantra appeared again always in his mind, and the instruction of his guru, and then he again started taking up the chanting. And therefore, very soon he left the material world and he came to the Vaikuntha, and then ultimately to Ramloka, to Dwaraka, and then again back to Vrindavan, and from Vrindavan back to Goloka Vrindavan. So that's in short the story of Gokumar. Because we cannot go directly to Krishna Loka from any other place in the world than Vrindavan Dham, or the Earth planet. Because on this Earth planet is Vrindavan Dham, and only from that it's the catapult where you can go to the Goloka. Therefore, even the demigods, they line, like sometimes there are lines in the shopping center, that they can enter, especially now in the mask time, they had to stay outside and wait until they can enter. Because so many people, especially Saturday. But there are many from higher worlds and from other places, who stay aligned, that they can take birth in this Kali Yuga, in this time on the Earth planet, because now the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya is going on. And they come, and something will happen. As our translator, he completely disappeared. Took a rest.
No, sorry, Guru Maharaj, he just went shortly on one place.
Okay.
He will come.
Anyway, we can speak English. Okay, Mahananda, something else?
Thank you very much. Yes, for now it's good.
Okay.
But I think so. I become more and more questions. So that is also my way to become question. I can ask you. So that is my way. My problem. I don't can ask you so many points. I can hearing, but then I cannot understand. But for me, it's so difficult to give a question. Or yes.
It's a very good point in the Bhagavatam. This is also described that the disciple or the inquirer has many questions, no? But he asked the speaker or the spiritual master, like Vidura asked Maitreya Muni, I have questions like this and this and this, and he had quite a lot. Sometimes a whole chapter was only questions by Vidura in the third canto, and also like that. And in case there's any other things what you want to tell me, what I was not able to ask, then please feel free to tell me also about that. Because we're limited in our questions, But the spiritual master, he can how to say, speak so many things to us, what we actually never dare to ask, or they actually never appeared in our questions. No? But he answers. And therefore, many sometimes say after the class, I had so many questions in the beginning, but after the class, everything became clear. Yeah, somebody else has some question?
Da li još neko ima pitanje?
Kirtida? Or you, Bhakti Granta? Vanamali?
Actually,
Yes. You gave a class Saturday 1 week back, and you were speaking about Vena, King Vena, and out of his body came these Naishadas, this kind of people who were not very pious. And then I was searching in the fourth canto. It's not said so much about these Naishadas. I just wanted to know if they are still existing. They must be.
It's not in the third canto, it's in the fourth canto.
Yeah, I'd say in the fourth canto. Yes, I looked there.
You have to look there, there's a description of these people, this is a kind of people,
I didn't find much information. I was looking.
Mostly they're mountain and forest dwellers, It's not important to know them. You have to important to know King Prithu. Because it became extracted from the body of King Vena, and so in this way the body became purified, and King Prithu appeared, the Adi Raj, the perfect king. So about him you should hear and ask questions, not about the Naishadas. You don't have to become Naishadas. It's not very intelligent question. So, no question about Prithu Maharaj? Okay, that means was only the Naishada question.
I will read about Prithu Maharaj. Maybe
yeah, Kirato, there's a verse by Shukadev Goswami, Kirata unantar Polinda Pulkasha, Shumba Yavana Kashadeya, Yenera Vindaksha, Yenecha Papa Ashraya, Tasmai Prabha Vishnave Namaha. So even these classes of men, like Yavana, Shumba, Naishada, and so on, even they become purified if they hear about Krishna in the association of the devotees. This is the power of the Supreme Lord, because the Supreme Lord acts through his devotees, and by associating with his devotees, even the uncultured person become cultured by the process of hearing, chanting, and remembering. So I think that is what you wanted to hear, Anamali. Yes. So that's the answer. Yes. Okay, then we stop. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Sima Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Have a nice week. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Ayo, Jai Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Rohinisuta Prabhu ki jai.